Hello, what is up, everyone in the QOTL 2 colleagues? This will be my video for the kind of wrap up or showcase, whatever you would like to call it. My name is Mallory Redman. You've probably seen me comment on stuff if you've been kind of within my various cohorts. And sorry, there might be kitties that come up and about because they're in zoomy phase right now. So don't mind cats if you hear them meowing or if they jump into the screen. um, First of all, I just want to thank our lovely facilitators, and I want to thank you all, colleagues, for all the hard work that you've done throughout the past several weeks. It's been really awesome to see what a lot of you do in your courses. I know that we kind of all come from different backgrounds, which I think is really awesome. It's one of the reasons why I love doing these sorts of like professional development training things. And so I can like use what you all use as well. And even though I'm in probably a very different discipline than you all. So anyway, thank you so much. I learned a ton and there's so much more to also learn and things to still implement. So it was really awesome just to dip my toes into kind of things that we've done throughout this course. So that said, let's get into some things that I've done throughout this course. So also, I know that when we kind of all talked about like different ways that we use recording software, different ones that we use. I'm using Loom, so it's Loom, and if you look up here, that's what it looks like. It kind of looks like a little tiny star. I quite like it. It took a little second to get used to, of course, like all of them are, but I found it didn't have a lot of like the bugs that ScreenPal was starting to give me. I don't know if anyone else experienced this, but I would be like 8 minutes into a recording and then it would just like stop, and like it had stopped like 3 minutes before and I had no idea. Anyway, so I haven't had those issues with this particular software. And you can like be full screen and stuff, and you can make your face real big or real small and effects and all that stuff. Anyway, if you have any questions on that, you're more than welcome to reach out and ask. So for the first module that I worked on was visual content. I loved this because I learned how to like make banners and stuff. I have not had the bandwidth to learn how to do all that stuff, so it was really awesome learning Canva and like all the different ways that we can use this wonderful software. So I don't have like a before and after necessarily, but I'll show you what I enhanced or jazzed up this module as. Also, something that I really enjoyed learning about how to do, and something that I will probably implement is, and I know some of us also mentioned this, is this marked done situation. I really enjoyed that, but I also have like, you have to move through it sequentially, so you can't click on these until you've gone through it. So this was like an example of like the first week's module. So I have my welcome page, my intro page, and what I've added to this are these banners at the top. I think it adds a really nice pop to the module itself. One feedback I did get from our facilitators is the space between where I put like the end of the word and a colon or an exclamation point. That's just my own style of how I do that sort of punctuation. I'll fix it because I understand with this it does look a little out of place, but with some fonts it's nice to have a little bit of space. Again, that's literally just my own thing that I like to do. I also use an obnoxious amount of exclamation points, which you've probably already noticed. But also the reason why I keep objectives and tasks in the module introduction portion here is because in other pages I have module content. So I really just wanted to keep that distinction between what's introducing the module and then like what is the content that's needed to know for this week's module. So I hope that makes sense and the reason why I did it that way and didn't make those changes. I also like using the color heads. I teach both at Kenyatta College and at Skyline College, and so I would use like the different schools' color for each. If I was like, say I was teaching this at Skyline, I would use red, like a darker red, not that really bright red that hurts the eyes, but a darker red. Or if I was CSM, that nice dark blue. Something you'll also note here, I don't like using personally, and this isn't something we learned, but this is just a personal thing. I don't like using the bright yellow highlight. I feel, again, it's really bright on the eyeballs. And so I like using, if I'm highlighting something, I like to use that sort of like lighter yellow. It also just helps my eyeballs. I'm staring at a screen all freaking day, and I don't want to, do that. And so anyway, so, mark is done, woohoo, and stuff like that. And then some of my modules are different than others in a sense where some will have like several pages of content to read through. Some will just be one page of content, and then it'll get on to the assignments. So this is the first one. Again, you'll notice that there's that space between the colon and the content, but read and watch, because there is generally a combination of a little bit of an explanation or background, and then videos on top of that. And then similarly here, I don't know. I must mark as done. See, I'm learning my own things. Marking as done. And then we can go forward. It's kind of a neat little thing, right? So again, module content, marking is done, going forward. Yeah, the first week has a lot of videos to watch. So then here's what you'll see. So a content quiz. Okay, cool. So I can do this. You'll see how pretty this looks. I really like how that looks. And then similarly, here's a weekly assignment. So it's different from the content quiz. The assignment is usually something a bit different. They have to like submit questions to stuff or whatever. And the last thing I want to show is just a discussion board. So I want to try to like distinguish the differences between the module content banners and like the assignment banners. So you'll notice I did different themes there. I did that for a reason, and I think that might be helpful with students, like noticing what's content and what's an assignment. So that's kind of what I did with that. I do also want to mention when I go home, I already had my homepage looking something like this, like including a little picture, including fun little emojis and saying, welcome, I'm happy you're here. Something I want to work on is transforming this little section into buttons. I liked the idea of making the buttons in PowerPoint. I was just personally having a really hard time making the buttons because all of the colors weren't, like even simple colors, they like weren't copying and pasting properly. So I was just having some issues there. So it's something that I'm willing to work on. But also I think a concern here is like the how to get in touch with me. Yeah, I have email and my office hours and stuff, but I wouldn't have a button for my cell phone number. So I don't know if it would just be better to keep it in this format as opposed to like switching things up. But anyway, so that's what I did with our first module. Our second module, and I'll just kind of big face here, was the students to student interaction. I really liked this module. It was really fun to kind of learn different ways in which instructors get their students to talk to each other, and like ways that, we can try to facilitate conversation, not only on the online forum, but also in person. I pretty much do weekly discussion boards already. But something I'll try to implement a bit more of is like sharing their own experiences, which I already do, but I really want to try to like foster that even more and like really build this community and allow students to not feel like they can't share like what they've been through or, things like that, and like really foster a good, welcoming, warming space where they feel comfortable and not judged and things like that. Something which goes into being equitable and inclusive, like, because we all interact with the environment. We all have, some ways that we can pitch in our experiences into those. It will vary from week to week, I think, but it is something that I will try to continue to foster. I'm still a little about different ways to get students to interact with each other other than discussion boards. You may have already seen my expression of discontent with Flip. And I really just don't, I like the idea of it. I don't like that if you have poor internet, it doesn't work very well. That was my experience, and I hadn't experienced that before, and it was really, really frustrating. And now I understand where my students were like, this sucks. And I was like, oh, I don't get why. And now I get why. So like I like the idea of it, and like how it integrates into Canvas, or seemingly integrates into Canvas. I've had issues with that too. So I like the idea, but Padlet, I also like the similarity, or like I like students interacting in that way, but sometimes that can be just like a wall of text, and it can be a little bit confusing to operate anyway. So I really want to try to like, again, facilitate a little bit more student to student interaction and stuff of that nature. Okay, and then the next module that I did was the grading and feedback module. This was really fascinating. I really liked learning about the different types of grading. It wasn't something that I necessarily had dove into before. I've almost always only encountered this weighted grading situation. I liked learning about ungrading. I don't think that would work with my class. Students have to have things graded in order for them to do science and assignments. It's literally just how it is, unfortunately for me. And then I also investigated the contract grading. I like the idea of that one too, and that might be something that I consider implementing in future courses. For like labs, though, not necessarily for like my classes. For labs, I think that would be a little bit interesting, but there's caveats to that. Some labs grow on each other, or like, yeah, so if a student decided to not do one lab, then they may have missed out on that, and then maybe they even missed out on the student learning outcomes. Anyway, I like the idea of it. It's just something I probably won't implement in my classes. I also really love the idea of peer review, and I will keep doing that for my written assignments for the one written project that they have to do. But I never got feedback on the rubric situation that I turned in. I provided feedback for my partner, but I never got feedback on mine. And this is also something that my students have complained about with peer review. It's like they're like, I turned mine in, and I'm like, okay, well, this is. I mean, I don't necessarily tell them what their partner's name is, but like, you know, it's assigned automatically, and then sometimes they just don't get feedback, and then they don't know how to like fix their work. And I'm in the same boat now too, right? So I submitted how I fixed my discussion board rubric to be a lot more detailed and very like in your face, what I'm expecting, and hopefully it's better. I don't know. So that's again another like mishap I have with that. Something I know that I also need to work on just in general is grading in a timely fashion. Maybe you all have these concerns or this issue as well, but the good old life of a part-timer is I teach at several institutions, and I'm teaching way too many classes in the fall. So that'll be an interesting thing that I'll have to adjust to. But I think having these very detailed rubrics, having them all set up now, will be very helpful for me to be able to like make sure that I can, as long as I just stay on top of grading, I won't be as overwhelmed as before. So that's kind of my main thoughts and ideas at the moment. And then, so just lastly, I just want to mention, like continuing this conversation of equitable and inclusive, kind of like putting all of these things together, the visual content, the student-to-student interaction, grading and feedback, and just like always touching base with my students and letting them know that they can reach out to me at any time, that I can provide any extra resources as needed or any extra help, that my door is always open, my inbox is always open. I know I'm kind of crazy as like I consistently like check my email, or not, I consistently check my phone. I give my phone number out. It really hasn't been abused. But they know that they can expect a pretty quick response from me. And if they don't get a quick response for something that actually facilitates an answer, that they can just email me again. And I try to say this all the time. And I want their voices to be heard. And I want them to know that like they can come to me with any questions, comments, concerns, whether it be about life, this class, other classes, like any sort of experiences that they need, like a helping shoulder to to lean on, to trust and all that kind of stuff, that I am there for them. I think it does kind of help that I have like the wonky hair colors and the tattoos and all that kind of stuff, but doesn't mean that, that doesn't really, I guess, necessarily mean anything. But yeah, so again, this course was super awesome. Thanks again to everyone who participated. I appreciate all the feedback that you all gave me, and I hope that we can continue working together in future things. And I hope you all have a wonderful summer. Now we can like kind of take a little break. I'm actually leaving on vacation tomorrow after just getting over COVID. So it's been fine. COVID's not gone. So there's that. See you all in the fall. Thanks again. Bye.